Hello, I'm Marcus Buckland, formerly of Sky Sports, and now one of the two main tennis presenters on Amazon Prime Video. And it's my pleasure to welcome you to this Business of Tennis webinar presented by the Tennis Industry Association UK. TIA UK is the not-for-profit members trade organisation bringing together companies, clubs and individuals with business interests in UK tennis. Now, I would normally be introducing this topic live from the All England Club, but because of COVID-19, the TIA UK has converted its annual Business of Tennis Forum into a series of webinars aimed to help tennis club businesses grow and be more profitable. The series of webinars is sponsored by BLM, the TIA UK's legal partner, and is supported by the LTA. Now, the webinar topics focus on some key business issues affecting clubs and operators of tennis venues, illustrate best practice, and how clubs can maximize opportunities to grow and increase revenue. Of course, we are living in strange times and there are plenty of challenges ahead, but there's also a lot of support from the governing body and others such as TIA UK to help get tennis clubs back on track. The good news is that you don't need to take any notes because a copy of this webinar will be available on the TIA UK website. The webinar is pre-recorded, but you can send any questions to the email given at the end of the webinar and you'll be answered just as quickly as possible. We sincerely hope that you find this interesting, informative and forward-thinking. Thank you very much.
In today's webinar, we are investigating how clubs have forged contractual relationships with local authorities to manage tennis in parks. We will hear from clubs in Surbiton and Bournemouth, but first the LTA sets the scene and highlights the opportunities, the benefits, but also the challenges.
How clubs can benefit from running park sites, plus what's required from clubs to do this well. Hi, I'm Stuart Maidment. I am Parks Tennis Manager at the LTA. In my current role, I help park sites to operate in ways that's financially sustainable and is of benefit to tennis in Britain, usually by providing tools, methods and opportunities that help to attract new players into the sport and retain our existing ones. In my previous role, I worked for a large traditional members club as the head of community tennis, running multiple park, school and club venues across a major city. The aim of our meeting today is to increase knowledge and awareness of what's required from a club in order to run a park tennis venue, enabling you to decide if it's a viable option for your club. The contents, we're going to run through the benefits of a club running a park site, how best to approach and engage with a local authority, what clubs will need to run a successful park, and what support the LTA can offer. The benefits of running a park site. We know that park sites are a great way of providing an entry point into tennis for players who may be lapsed from or who are new to the sport. Parks are often seen as being accessible to everyone. There are often fewer real or perceived barriers such as membership costs, rules and etiquette. For those reasons, for some people, a park is the only place they will ever choose to play. There's also increased awareness of parks. Our insight tells us that more people are aware of where their local park tennis courts are than they are of where their nearest club site is. This contributes to the insight shown on screen, which shows us that when we look at people aged 14 years and older who have played at least once in the last year, 32% of those people have done so in parks compared to just 14% at tennis clubs. And this has led to well over 500,000 bookings being taken over the past year at park courts that use the ClubSpark booking platform, and that this has generated nearly £1 million of income via pay and play bookings at those parks who wish to charge a fee to play. So we've established there's a great opportunity to get high numbers of new or lapsed or infrequent players back onto our park courts. The way that tennis courts are used in parks and the people that use them vary drastically from those who join traditional members clubs. Our insight tells us that people who play a higher number of times per year often do so at clubs, so therefore parks need to provide something a little bit different in order to be suitable for the parks players' specific needs and to facilitate them into playing more regularly. The insight on screen highlights the differences between parks and clubs players' needs and their playing habits. You can see that park players generally opt for less traditional or less formal play, and they prefer to play socially with friends or family. The last slide showed us there's some good differences between the needs that parks players and clubs players typically have. This means we have to have a very different approach to providing tennis opportunities compared to a traditional members club. If you simply provide an extension of your club's traditional membership model, you will not be catering for parks players' needs and wants. Instead, our experience shows us that slightly less traditional opportunities are way more effective in parks. Opportunities such as pay and play court bookings made on a modern online booking platform. Low-cost season tickets, generally costing between £30 to £70 per year, that enable the whole family to play and pay at the park as often as they like. Local tennis leagues. So far in 2020, there's over 200 active leagues taking place in parks with over 6,200 players competing. Tennis for free. Pre-COVID, Tennis for Free were operating in 120 parks, providing tennis opportunities for nearly 15,000 players. Plus, we have a suite of LTA coaching products which we know are very suitable for use in park sites. By offering these different opportunities and methods to play, we can encourage an entirely different demographic of person onto the courts, the kind of people who don't normally engage with a traditional membership model. When run well, parks can bring in additional income to a club venue from obvious things such as court bookings and the season tickets that we've just spoken about, coaching programs. These might be slightly cheaper, maybe more mass participation based than your regular club coaching program, but can still turn a healthy profit. There's also income to be had from additional secondary spend, maybe through additional players at competitions. If you can build a larger base of players within a geographical area, and you can increase the interest and the attraction of tennis, this will ladder up into increased interest in membership, or increased interest in kids camps, or your coaching program at your club, for example. There is also sponsorship opportunities. Parks are often far more appealing to sponsors who are looking to be attached to an initiative that's doing good for the community, rather than what could be seen as maybe an exclusive members-only club or an exclusive sport. However, the opportunity to generate this revenue does come at extra costs, both monetary and resources and time. We'll cover these a little bit later in the presentation. There's also a great opportunity here to enhance the reputation of your venue and increase awareness of tennis in your local area. As we've said, lots more people will visit a park and will be aware of the park than will be aware of your club venue. Therefore, if your club operates the park site, it's a great way of increasing people's awareness, not only of your club, but tennis as a whole. As we've mentioned, more and different people play in parks. This is a great way to let a wider range of people know of the great work that you're doing to make tennis available, affordable, and accessible to all. You have a chance here to change the perception of tennis and to make more people think that tennis is for them. There's also the knock-on effect of anyone who wants to play tennis a little bit more regularly and maybe play competitively too. The first place they will think of joining will be your club. Efforts in parks can contribute towards changing people's perception of tennis as a whole. Our most recent survey has shown us that despite the disruption of COVID and the cancellation of Wimbledon this year, the same percentage of people think that tennis is a sport for them in 2020 when compared to 2019. Engaging with a local authority. In order to engage with the local authority, clubs need to be aware that local authorities may offer, and in some cases strongly favour, one model of operation. 3 of the more common models are shown on the screen. However, a hybrid or a mixture between any of these is also a possibility. Number 1, local authorities operate all areas of parks tennis. There's definitely still a chance for your club to be engaged with this opportunity. Local authorities will be keen to provide exit routes for their players who wish to play more than what the park can offer. Number 2, local authority might outsource all areas of parks tennis operation. So the club would run all areas of the park, from court booking, membership, coaching and competitions. Usually, the club would pay a fee here to the local authority to lease the courts. This model requires the highest level of input from the club, both financially and in terms of time and resources, but it also has the potential to be the most financially and strategically rewarding. Number 3, the local authority owns the court bookings but outsources the coaching. Local authorities may not have the resources to run the coaching and competitions program, but may have the time and the people power to run the season tickets and the court bookings. In this case, a smaller fee is often charged, usually for a set number of leased hours per week, during which the club can run a coaching or competition program. Some local authorities are open to offers on their operational model, others aren't. And maybe your opportunity to influence this may depend at what stage you join the conversation. Being involved with and knowing the local authority early, maybe even before the park sites become available for procurement, is often of benefit. Aligning objectives. The operational model may vary based on the local authority's resources. But regardless of this, the local authority will be definitely looking for a partner to deliver towards agreed and shared goals. These will be strategic objectives, and these vary between local authorities. Some wish to provide court time or stipulate that there's free access to a tennis opportunity, such as tennis for free. Understanding and proving that you can meet the council's strategic aims is really vital, and we advise researching and reading up on their strategies around health, green space, and engaging underrepresented groups. Most local authorities will engage with their local LTA Participation Development Partner, or PDP. So make yourself and your club's interest in parks operation known to your PDP so that you can be kept up to date with the most information and insight into what the local authority might want to achieve at their park sites. We suggest becoming engaged with network meetings. They can be of great benefit to the club, not only in terms of procurement of park sites, but also uncovering opportunities for your club. Again, this can be done via your PDP. Making initial contact. Our network of PDPs have great relationships with most local authorities. All local authorities were sent a letter this year from our CEO, Scott Lloyd, to outline the opportunities and the investment that we're making in our park sites. As we've said, make use of the existing network meetings. They're a great chance to meet new people and a great chance to learn more about the local authorities, their situations, their aims and objectives. Knowing the size of the opportunity, not only now, but the future opportunity, is also key to the procurement of park sites. The local authority may have several sites targeted for partnership with clubs or local coaching providers in the next few years. We need to know, or you will need to prove, that you have the capacity to take those on if the local authority wishes to have one provider across all park sites. Be prepared to complete a full tender and interview process, and be prepared to have some heavy competition. There's lots of opportunities in parks now. Coaches, other clubs and providers are more switched on to that than ever before. The tender process itself can be a lengthy process and definitely requires commitment of time and resources. You'll need to have some form of relationship building a relationship with a council officer. This officer could be from a number of different departments, such as leisure, parks, property or procurement. So you'll need to adapt depending on which area your contact is from. You'll need to learn what the procurement process is. Local authorities often place these opportunities on procurement portals that are geared up towards much larger and profitable opportunities. However, the same process and the same depth of detail will be required when you're after your park. You'll need to provide detail around your financial planning, your long-term business planning. Having knowledge and experience of bid writing or application writing is a benefit here as well. You may need to have legal representatives, and making sure that you meet the local authority's aims is also key. As we've said before, looking to take on a park site to be an extension of your existing club's programme is not going to work either for you or for the local authority. What will clubs need? Clubs will need understanding and knowledge of what a high quality park looks like. As we've just said, you'll need to accept that running a club in a park is usually not the best option, financially or strategically, either for the club or for yourself, or for the local authority. You'll need to be aware of the operational models and all of their strengths and weaknesses and how they can best work for you. You'll also need to know more about your likely audience and how they're going to differ from your traditional club members. We know, for example, that most park players only travel 10 minutes to play. Your local PDP can provide a report showing the demographics of the area that you're in and of the local authority as a whole to highlight the types of players and the latent demand for tennis that there is in your area. In terms of resources, clubs or partners will need to have someone acting as a relationship manager to act as the middleman between the two entities. You may need financial and legal representation, who might be experienced in facility maintenance and renovation. You'll also need some additional staffing capacity. Unlike club members, park players are often new to the game and therefore they require more support to get onto court. They often ask more questions. You may need some long-term strategic business planning to outline where the park is now, where it could be in a number of years' time, and a management team to help you take it there. In terms of coaching capacity, you'll need workforce to deliver sessions, whether this is just a once a week tennis for free session or whether it's a full program of coaching and competitions. You'll also need some marketing to help get the players onto the park site in the first place and then to outline further opportunities to play, which could include your club. How the LTA can help. The insight on screen shows us that the biggest gaps between what park players want and what they're currently receiving are the state of the courts, the ease of booking a court, the customer service they've received, and the facilities they have to play on. To solve these issues, we have a ClubSpark booking platform which links to the LTA Rally booking aggregator, which brings together all court bookings and coaching opportunities together in one easy-to-book place, a little bit like Expedia of the tennis world. In terms of improving facilities, we can grant fund the installation of gate access systems, which means that parks can be managed remotely. A gate access system grants access to the courts to players who have booked and paid if required, helping to make the collection of fees easy and manageable remotely, whilst offering a modern and relevant booking journey for the players. We have easy access loans that the local authority or the club can apply for the renovation of court surfaces, the installation of floodlights. With a good partner's long-term involvement, the courts should become self-sustaining, generating enough income to maintain and renovate facilities, ensuring the continued provision of tennis for many years to come. As we've said, customer service, we can highlight with insight, case studies, and experience of what has worked at other venues. Our PDPs are experienced and knowledgeable, and they can provide assistance in contracts, operational modelling, including working out the feasibility of a park site. And they can also provide case studies to highlight what has worked really well elsewhere. To summarise, we set out with the aim of increasing your knowledge and awareness of what's required from a club in order to run a parks tennis venue, hopefully enabling you to decide whether it's a viable option for your club. I hope you found this presentation informative and of help. Thanks for listening.
So, hi everyone. My name's Tom Crisp. I'm the head tennis coach at Surbiton Racket Fitness Club. Firstly, this is the first kind of virtual presentation I've done, so hopefully it goes okay, and you bear with me for the next 10-15 minutes. I was asked to present today on creating a link between a club and park sites. This was something that we did with Surbiton Racket Fitness Club in 2017. We were awarded a 25-year lease to run 3 park sites across the borough of Kingston, creating our Park Tennis in Kingston brand. A little bit of background about the club to start with. Surbiton's quite a traditional tennis club in the sense it was formed in 1881. The club's progressed over time, where it's now a multi-sports venue that has tennis, indoors and outdoors, squash and gym facilities. The main reason, I suppose, that we kind of looked to get into the park sector was due to facilities at the club and how busy we were. So it was a way of us looking at how we could access increased facilities in the local area. So the lease was for 3 sites. The club you can see is based here. All the 3 sites are quite local to us. I think that was a good a learning for us, and something to bear in mind if anybody is thinking about getting into park facilities, is that having a location geographically that was quite close to the club has been good for us. It's easy if there are any problems, if there are any issues with the gate access, but also knowing the community, knowing your market, knowing people, and what they might want and what they might want to see at these sites. So as already mentioned, facilities was one of the reasons that we looked to get into this area. But I think also from the research that the LCA did, seeing that a large number of people, maybe casual users of tennis, very different to tennis club members, are actually playing their tennis in park facilities. So we really saw that there was an opportunity to reach out to and engage with more people in the sport by being in a park rather than being a traditional tennis club. The LCA facilities team were great with their work that we did with them using the Sport England segmentation tool. This is able to show kind of how much, from surveys they've done, from how much demand there is for sport in your area. So we were quite happy with the figures, and again, quite confident that if we put good facilities in place with a good consumer journey, that we would have high usage, a large number of people engaging with the project. So again, we knew that it was going to be very different from the start, running facilities in a park rather than a club. As all clubs are different, but where we are, we're quite tucked away. So actually getting the word out there, we don't have much kind of passing trade, passing footfall. Obviously, this is very different to the park. Whenever you're there, whenever we're delivering programs, doing coaching, having open days, there's lots of people walking past, lots of interest. So it's quite different to where we are, maybe where the work that we're doing in clubs isn't as seen by the public. We're still aware that I think there's this image within tennis of maybe the sport being a little bit elitist, a little bit inaccessible. So, you know, a big aim of our project was to show kind of locally that actually tennis can be accessible, that you can access good quality facilities for a very low price point. The hourly rate for the courts that we have is £6 an hour, or you can purchase an annual pass, which gives you unlimited tennis for £50 a year. So it was really kind of showing that, trying to move away from that idea that tennis was as an inaccessible sport. The other benefits that we had from the project would be the relationship we built on with the council. I'll talk a little bit more about that on the next slide. And I think just the idea that the more of a buzz that we could create with tennis within the local area was going to have a benefit for us as a club as well. There was that natural feeling of, if we could get more people playing at park sites, then there would be a transition for the ones who maybe wanted more formal, more league play, more competitive play, actually looking to have an exit route into a club for those people. So that was something that's kind of naturally wasn't the main aim of the project, to build club membership, but I think just having more people locally playing tennis, that's been something that's happened almost naturally. The work with the council, there were many challenges along the way, I think, and it's something that also to be aware of, that when you are working with public bodies, the time that it takes for the decision making, the negotiations, there was never just to get in terms of leases and everything formalised, it was took quite a lot of time, especially at the beginning. Then I think with the negotiations on the lease that we pay to them, I think the almost idea of how much income can be generated through sites was something that we had to kind of negotiate with them with. But on the flip side of that, now things in terms of physical activity and health are big drivers for councils. It's something that's really on top of their list of inactivity, something that they're charged to kind of deal with. So anyone who's looking to invest in sporting facilities, I think, could be seen on quite favourably at this time. Obviously, again, funding is an issue for councils currently. So our proposal to come in and manage the facilities for them, almost taking that workload away, is something that is seen to be quite favourable at this current time. Again, back to that local element of it, there was a kind of tender process in our bids for the facilities, and being a kind of local independent club who had already been involved in kind of community initiatives within the council, within the borough, that was seen upon as quite favourable in the tender process. At the beginning, when we needed to do quite a bit of maintenance work on the court, we needed to access around £300,000 to do the work to get the facilities up to a better standard. Because it was a community project, we actually found routes to funding were a lot easier than when we're looking to find funding for works at the club. We were very lucky that we were able to access funding through the London Marathon Charitable Trust, who gave £100,000 grant for the project. Also, the LTA and Surrey LTA supported us financially. So again, whereas maybe people in clubs will know that access to funding can be quite difficult, because it's a very different concept and more of a public access thing, there is much more access to funding, which can help with the initial capital works that you might have to go through. So this was kind of some of the images of where we were when we started, facilities that were very run down. I think a positive, again, in a way, that we saw, even though the facilities were in quite a state of disrepair, they were still being used. So this was something that, again, we looked at and thought, well, if people are using facilities when they were in this state, then there's obviously a demand that when they're brought up to a better standard, that we would probably have people paying for our annual passes and using the facilities on a pay and play basis. So the position we're in now, at the beginning of 2019, all 3 of the sites were fully refurbished. So we resurfaced all of them, installed new fencing, put all the branding up and marketing material, and installed the gate access systems, which you can see here through the Club Spark platform. I think a big learning for us was the investment in the facilities is crucial, because a lot of the time you're changing from a free system to a chargeable system. So people are used to being able to just turn up onto the courts and play, whereas now obviously there is a charging system in place, but the kickback we've had and the feedback we've had from that has been very positive. Obviously the price point helps, but rather than just being seen to have stuck a gate on a court and stopping people playing, improving and investing in the facilities gives people something that they can really see, okay, this is much better. So now that we are having to pay for it, it's still a positive thing, because the courts they're using are massively improved from where they were before. So as mentioned, we have 2 ways that you can book the courts: an annual pass, which is £50 per annum. That gives you unlimited play, so you can have 1 booking every day for an hour and a half, or you can access the courts on a pay and play basis. Usage figures are extremely good. We have sold around 500 annual passes. This has increased even more since the restrictions brought in due to the COVID-19 pandemic. I think obviously people have seen across the board in tennis that there's really been an increase in people wanting to use facilities and to be active, especially outside. So the figure now is up around 900 in terms of annual passes sold. Looking down at the graph, I think this is purely on court usage, on court hours. This was from year 1, so this is just to kind of show that it wasn't really a slow burner, opening kind of midway through March, so the start was pretty low, but you can see straight away court usage and court hours booked was extremely good. Another kind of, I think, surprise for us in a way was maybe winter usage, just seeing that actually we thought maybe it would be much more seasonal than it was, but we're still seeing the facilities really being used throughout the year. So the use of the Club Spark gate access system has been, I think, positive for us. It allows the courts to be secure, so you know that potential issues with damage or vandalism can be mitigated by that. The courts are chargeable, so we're finding a way to recoup the initial spend and the capital investment that we put in there, whilst also able to have sinking funds in place to improve and repair the courts when needs be. The consumer journey is good. People can book online. They can see when the courts are free. They get sent an email with their access code, which allows them then into the facilities. So in terms of that, it is a fairly self-sufficient system, which is good on the amount of staff time we have to put into it. I think just to be aware, if you are looking to be involved in the gate access and the automated system, it still does require a staff time. It still requires that management. And I think, again, for us, trying to bring your staff at your club or whoever's running your club, to really bring them in on board with the project, so it can be seen as something that's running alongside the club program, again, has been good for us, because there are issues sometimes with people not being able to get in, people not being able to give access. So that's something that can be mitigated by the staff being involved with the project. Again, just to be aware, sometimes the expectations of the public, especially in terms of when they can get a court, how often they can get a court. But I think the message that we've given is obviously it's a really affordable price to play tennis on high quality facilities. So that's kind of where we've got to. That's where we're at now. Across one of our sites at Alexandra Recreation Ground, we took on the additional lease that it was actually an old toilet facility, but we've now turned this into a cafe which opens during the summer. It's been nice that it creates more of a kind of community feeling. You get people sitting out and watching the tennis that's on, and it's just an additional benefit to the people who are using the courts. The next aim for us is to install some floodlighting on the courts. Where we've been not able to probably do as much as we would like to do has been with the coaching program. I think this is in two strands. One, because the courts have been pretty busy with people using them. So actually the major thing was to actually give members of the public access to facilities and not have huge amounts of coaching going on, but not having lights in the winter really limits what we're able to do. So that's something that we're looking into, and again can tie into the booking system. So our aspirations is that we would have floodlights at least one of the sites, so we can just increase the amount of court time we're giving, especially in the winter months. So I hope that gives you a good overview of our project and how we've been. It's been challenges at times, especially when you are dealing with a council having to drastically improve facilities and have that initial investment. But I think we can say that it's been a real worthwhile project for us at the club, and has really increased the visibility and the standing of the club within the community. So if it's something that clubs are looking to do, I think it can have a real positive, both for tennis in your local area, but also the club as a whole. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Chris Cant, and I'm Parks Coordinator for the Bournemouth Parks scheme. I'm employed by the West Hants Club in Bournemouth, and along with my colleagues, we oversee 5 park sites in and around the Bournemouth area. Today I'm going to give you a brief overview of our journey and how we have built the Parks programme to 28 courts over 5 sites. I'll highlight the problems we've encountered and how we have changed our process along the way. I'll also try and identify the best way to get involved in park tennis court management and show you how it has benefited our club. Lastly, I'll talk through our next exciting plans for Bournemouth Parks. So to get going, next I'll show you a short video clip of our sites so you can visualise what our venues look like. Bournemouth Gardens was our first site and is located in the town centre. As you can see, these are good quality artificial grass courts, and we have a bubble up over the winter months. We also manage the small clubhouse that has a cafe and changing facilities. Shelley Park was our first unmanned site using the key fob system. It is located in Boscombe, which is very close to the cliff top, and despite being a 3-court site, it is one of our busiest sites. Swanmore Gardens is our largest site and is situated in a residential area. It is great for coaching and summer camps due to the number of courts available. Winton is our busiest site, partly due to its location and highly populated area, but it also has 4 floodlit courts. The floodlights are operated via a token system. Red Hill is our latest addition to the park scheme. This is situated in a busy park, however the court bookings do not necessarily reflect this. The park has a large children's play area with a pool, which is very popular in the summer. Our park story starts in 2002 when we took over the running of Bournemouth Gardens. This site has been an important part of our junior coaching programme, especially since we put up the bubble, making 3 additional indoor courts. Along with providing a great place for residents and tourists to play, we have formed links with the university for their training at the centre. It is a manned site, and up until 2017, people were either members or paid at the clubhouse each time they played. In 2017, we installed the PIN keypad system alongside Clubs Park, which has been a great success. This has made the venue more self-sufficient, thus saving costs in the future. It's important to point out, though, that Bournemouth Gardens has always been kept separate from the other parks we run, as it is a different calibre of venue. Following on from the success of Bournemouth Gardens, we had formed a good working relationship with the council. In 2011, we worked closely with the LTA and Bournemouth Council to start a 1-year trial project at Shelley Park to see if the idea of an unmanned gate access system would work. The initiative was created due to the economic situation of funding cuts for local authorities, therefore seeing if well-managed clubs could take over the running and maintenance of park courts. We were given a 1-year operating agreement with a view to extending it for another 9 years if successful. Along with some funding from the LTA, we opened the courts in the spring of 2011 with a key fob system. As it was a test site, we had a number of questions we wanted answered before we could progress with possible other sites. They were: will it be vandalised? Will the actual key fob system work? Will users book courts online? Will a coaching programme be successful on park courts? Will our marketing plan increase membership, or will they go to other local tennis clubs? Will we be able to operate a pay and play system alongside the membership to cater for summer tourists? From the first year of running the system, we answered all these questions, which I will touch on later in this presentation. We then won new contracts to run Swanmore Gardens and Winton tennis courts. This meant that key fob holders would have access to 17 courts across Bournemouth, all for just £30 a year. Once these systems were in place, it was fairly simple to run these other 2 sites. However, the admin and maintenance work increased, of course. Winton, with its floodlights, and Swanmore, with its number of courts, makes them great venues for the coaching programme across the parks. Red Hill in 2015 was an add-on to our parks programme that the council wanted to be maintained and managed. I will talk further about our future plans for the parks in this presentation later on. As with any successful venture, it's important to have a great team of people that you can rely on. For those of you that don't know, the West Hants Club is a large private leisure club with around 3,000 members. Peter Elvis has been and still is the driving force behind the success of the parks. The team he leads are all employed by the West Hants Club and help with the running of the parks. All of these people you can see on this slide integrate the work of running the parks into their daily roles at West Hants. If you are thinking of running a parks programme, here are a few reasons why we got involved which might be similar to your thoughts. As mentioned before, Bournemouth Gardens has been a great location to help run part of our junior programme without impacting on our members' court availability at the West Hants Club. On the whole, the park scheme has supplemented our income, but margins are tight. Therefore, it is vital that costs are kept under control while still maintaining good facilities to play at. It has certainly increased awareness for the West Hants Club, which obviously has benefits in many different forms. By the council handing over the running and maintenance of parks courts to well-established clubs, it ensures a long-term sustainability of the facilities. The most important thing from all of this is to give people access to tennis in an affordable way while still having the funds to maintain the courts. It needs to be a long-term project so that these venues stay open. So obviously the most important thing is to ensure the scheme is profitable, as without that we would not be able to maintain the courts. This slide shows very roughly the numbers of members increasing with each site we took on. We need to bear in mind that with each new site there are more maintenance costs, therefore it's important to get the membership pricing right. We currently charge £36 per household for 1 year, which allows them access to all 4 park sites, excluding Bournemouth Gardens, which is a separate entity. We find that most people will use just 1 or 2 sites that are closest to them. Our key months for people joining are the spring and summer months between April and August. So it's important we get our marketing right in these months. Since lockdown in April this year, we have seen a sharp rise in membership, which we need to ensure carries on until next year and beyond. Since we started the Keep-Up system in 2011, there are various things that we have changed as technology has adapted and our learning of what works best has evolved. We started with our own membership software that we were using for West Hants membership. This worked well, however, in order for us to progress to the PIN access system, we needed to move to Club Spark, which I'm sure you're all aware of. The real benefit of Club Spark is that people can sign up online and immediately gain access to the courts through the keypad system on the gates. It also allows pay and play for those that are the occasional users. Over time, we have formed local partnerships with various groups, allowing them to play tennis whilst giving us an extra income. The forming of an agreement with our head coach to have sole coaching rights over the courts has freed up some of our admin time whilst providing us with a regular monthly income. This is a very simple slide, but one that I thought was important to highlight. If any of these are missing, I don't think the project would be successful. I'll touch on a few of these more a bit later on. The 2 things I want to talk about on this page are the sinking fund and the marketing plan. Every year we set aside £1,000 per court into a sinking fund so that we can ensure the courts are maintained for the long term. This is to cover yearly maintenance such as moss killing and broken nets, as well as more major work such as court painting and resurfacing. Looking at the marketing of the parks, we have tried multiple different methods. However, the ones we have found that work the best in recent years are Facebook, Instagram, and giveaways linked with these forms of social media. The key to these is to get the timing of the campaigns right so that it ties in with the better weather and around the start of Queen's and Wimbledon. As with anything, there are always challenges that you have to overcome or manage. Therefore, I have outlined a few that might help you when starting your park scheme. Keeping the message simple is important when selling parks memberships. Having one price per household across all sites is as simple as they come. We will, however, be introducing a pay and play price next year, but again, this will be one simple price. Vandalism was an issue to start with at Shelley Park, but only very briefly. Once the site got busier, we haven't had any issues. There have been a few bits of vandalism with the locks on a couple of other sites, but again, the more people are playing on the courts, the less problems we get. In the past, we have had a few issues with reliability of some of our locks. However, the pin access system that we have installed at Bournemouth Gardens is a lot more reliable. These locks do get a lot of use, therefore from time to time they do go wrong. If you are thinking of starting a parks program, this is a very simple slide showing the first steps you'll need to take. I've given my email address at the end of this presentation if you have any questions about our parks scheme. Our next steps are to install the pin access system at Shelley Park, Swanmore, Winton and Redhill within the next 6 months. This will bring them in line with Bournemouth Gardens, which already has this system in place. We will then be able to offer pay and play alongside our membership scheme. This will reduce our admin, postage and key fob costs. We will then be able to make use of Club Spark Rally, which helps people find local courts to play on. As well as building our social media presence, we are hopeful of winning contracts for 2 more very popular sites in the borough, which will hopefully increase our revenue further. Overall, the park scheme via a gate access system is an excellent way to make tennis affordable to the local community, whilst keeping the court maintenance sustainable for the long term. I hope you have enjoyed this presentation and have gained some knowledge from it. If you have any questions, please contact me on this email address. Many thanks and good luck.
Well, we very much hope that you found this webinar of interest to your own business. Tennis has been more fortunate than some other sports in being able to get back to some sort of normality at a relatively early stage, and many clubs have recorded an increase in interest and membership during the pandemic, which of course is encouraging for the industry as a whole. From my own personal point of view, Prime Video were thrilled by the number of people who watched the Battle of the Brits at the NTC during the summer, then the Cincinnati event, which of course took place in New York, the US Open itself, and most recently the Italian Open in Rome. If you want to ask a question in relation to the contents of this webinar, you can email phil@tiauk.org. That's phil@tiauk.org, and you will receive a response shortly afterwards. Details of other webinars and information on the TIA UK can be found on the website tiauk.org. And that is it. Thank you very much for watching.